Hello, I'm Michael Berkowitz. Today I want to talk with you about partnership. Now, when you have a new partner or when you have multiple partners, it can be very hard to keep straight what exactly you play and what your agreements are. In this lesson, I want to just talk about the things that are important to review with any partner before you play with them. And whether it's a new partner or someone you've played with before, what you should do to increase your understanding of each other so that your styles will match. Okay? Before I was a teacher, I directed a lot and I would set up new partnerships or I would play with new people. And I really got the sense of what happens when you sit down and what you should discuss immediately and what you don't need to. Okay, so today we will go through a convention card just to look at it, but I'm also going to show us how we should approach if we're asking for a new partner or if we're meeting someone for the first time to play bridge, how we approach them and what questions we need to ask so that we have a great session. There are a couple of different situations where we might start a new partnership. Sometimes we're just looking to play with someone for a day, whether we're playing online, which I know we are now. Hopefully someday soon we won't be, but whether it's just because our partner bailed on us for that day or we're looking for someone for a session that our partners aren't available for. Uh, and if you're doing that, then you don't want to make a whole bunch of notes because you're not going to play with them more than once. So have a basic understanding of what their style is, but you don't need to go into depth and try to figure out the best system because you're wasting your time. Spend time just talking, meeting each other, have fun. Bridge is supposed to be fun. Okay, so if you're going to play with someone for one session, try to get a little bit of understanding, but you're not going to ever worry about being on the same page. That said, if you're playing with someone and you think you might want to play with them long term, or you might play with them again, try to go through and understand what exactly your personal styles are and how you like to think about bridge. What we're going to do now is go through some of the things that I think are quick questions for whether or not you're playing with them once, several times. These are the quick things to get out of the way so that you know what your partner thinks about bridge and how that session is going to go. The first is, what's your opening bid style? Really important to know if your partner opens all 12 counts, which is what I recommend. Some partners learned a long time ago and they only opened 13 because they learned from Charles Gorin himself. That's fine. You just need to know it, right? Because if your partner opens only 13 counts, then 12 points is a game-forcing hand. Whereas if your partner opens 12 counts, you need more. Some partners, me for instance, open pretty light. So you need to be careful that you don't game force just because you think you might have a game, okay? I like to open 11 counts. Some people use the rule of 20 or the rule of 20 plus 2. If that's what your partner does or what you do, that's fine. Explain that to partner because that way they'll have an idea of the types of hands you can have to open and also when you pass, what sorts of hands you have. Similarly, your preempting style. Some people are crazy preemptors, okay? They'll open with 5-card suits. They'll open with, vulnerable. They don't care. What's vulnerability? I am not that way. I would like to know what the vulnerability is. I need to know what the seat is, okay? But depending on that, I could be very aggressive, and I would like my partner to know that going in, okay? Because that way your partner can adjust their expectations. If you say that you're a crazy person in first seat, right, and you'll open queen 6th and out, so you have queen small, 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 and nothing else, and you'll open that with a preempt, and some people do because that's some people's style, then your partner should know that, right? Because your partner is not going to invite with a balanced 15. Whereas if you're someone who's famously conservative, my father, for example, is pretty famously conservative as a preemptor. If you played with him and you had a 15 count, you wouldn't even bother asking about whether it was a good hand or a bad hand. You would just bid game. Okay. What about our carding? This is one of those things that I think is really important. I know that newer players are sometimes in the habit of giving signals and sometimes in the habit of not giving signals. And if you're meeting someone and you're either intermediate or even more advanced players, okay, there's always a carding question. And it's something that you need to get to before you go through the entire convention card and worry about what you do if they interfere over Blackwood, because that never comes up, okay? So what you should worry about is, what is your carding? Is it standard or upside down? Do you give attitude? Do you give count? And does your partner pay attention to those things? Because honestly, newer players don't pay attention to your first discard, and that's hard. That's fine. You know, you're not going to win a national event not doing that, but you're playing with someone for fun. Bridge is a game for people of all levels, and sometimes when we're newer, we're not up to the point where we can pay attention to all of the cards. We have to focus on one thing or the other, and maybe your partner's focusing on counting the points or counting something else. Yes, paying attention to our discards should be high on the priority list of things we care about. But that said, no, okay, well, I know that sometimes I don't pay attention to my partner's card. And tell your partner that. That's okay, right? Your partner's probably in the same boat. But it's really important because you don't want to be giving accurate signals if your partner's not paying attention. You're just helping declare, okay? On the other hand, if your partner does pay attention, then you know that you need to be careful with which cards you're playing, okay? I don't like to waste any mental energy. So if my partner's not going to pay attention to the cards I play, then I'm going to play my small cards in some random order. Make sure you're thinking about that. What is our system? That's important. System is a big idea, but generally I want to boil this down to, do we play 2/1 or do we play standard American? Because most of the time where you're picking up a new partner, unless you happen to have wandered into like England or Poland where they'll play a call or a Polish club standard or something. If you've gone off and are playing somewhere where they don't play either 2/1 or standard American for the most part, then you might need to have a different talk. But in the US, most people play either 2/1 or standard American. Make sure you know which one you play, and we'll go through a little bit more of that. Anything else sort of covers a big picture, but some people are very, what's the nice word for it? They have their own peculiarities. You know, no one is totally 100% the same way about how they approach bridge. And some people have what I would generously call ideas. Okay, and if your partner, bless them, has an idea about bridge, something like, oh, I only open week 2 bids in spades or diamonds because whatever, they had a bad experience once opening 2 hearts. That's something that you need to know. So sometimes you need to ask your partner if they have anything weird. I don't have on this slide, but it is important that you discuss your opening leads in addition to your carding, okay? No, do you lead 4th best, 3rd and 5th? What do you lead from bad holdings? Those are important questions so that you can defend accurately. All right, now that we've discussed the important things to do before we get into a convention card, let us now go through the process of filling out a convention card. One thing that I think is really helpful is, even though you're going to find a new partner and you're going to try to fill out a convention card together, I recommend coming with your regular convention card to any bridge event, okay? Whatever you play normally, because that's a good starting off point. Rather than trying to fill one out from new, start with your own convention card, and that way you can show it to your partner and say, this is what I normally play. That said, if you don't have a convention card filled out regularly, just Google it. So I'm going to Google ACBL convention card, because the ACBL has a lot of great tools here, and we're going to go and look at them, okay? I just clicked Google searched for a convention card. I thought that was the easy way to show what I would really do. Here we see we have all of these nice looking tools. We can download a PDF file and print a blank card. ACBL has these cards that are made up already, and we'll take a look actually at the fat-free convention card. You can also see this one from Larry Cohen. Larry did an entire series about filling out a convention card in the bulletin, and it's a great series. Obviously, I have to say that I work for Bridge with Larry Cohen, but it is a good series, and if you want to have an in-depth discussion with a partner that you regularly play with, I would absolutely recommend that. But for now, let's take a look at the fat-free card. And let's see if my face is over it. I'll get my face a little bit out of the way. All right, there we go. Now, so this fat-free convention card is designed for standard American. I think most of us probably play 2/1. But standard American is fine for our purposes of just looking at this card. Oh, sorry. We are going to scroll through. So here, important things to discuss. This no trump area is an important area for us to discuss. We want to know what our no trump range is. 15 to 17 is pretty standard. Again, major suit openings, good to discuss. Mostly here, I would discuss what your raises are. So when partner opens 1 heart, what does it mean when you bid 3 hearts? Are you playing a standard raise or are you playing a Bergen raise? Same thing with minor suit openings. Ask how you can be invitational. Is 1 club, 3 clubs invitational, or 1 diamond, 3 diamonds? Remember, if you're playing with someone for the first time and you're not trying to really create a system, or you're just trying to feel each other out, put as little on the convention card as you can. This isn't really the time to say, well, I like to play short club and I have all of these little peculiarities. Yes, I said that we can accommodate certain peculiarities of our partners, but really, if we are able to play without playing some of our gadgets and just pare down what we play, that would be really helpful. So while I want us to start with a convention card, I then want us to go and take things off. That's sort of our goal, is not to add to a convention card. It is to take things off, okay? So with major and minor openings, make sure you just know how you raise what shows a strong hand or a weak hand. Down here, most people play the same things for 2 clubs and preempts, right? And unless you're having a longer term partnership, I wouldn't talk too much about, do we play August or do we play step responses to 2 clubs? That stuff is all for later on, okay? The first time you sit down and play, I would rather try to focus on, what are my partner's carding like? What is my partner's attitude, okay? If you focus too much on, now we're going to play August, so remind me, what are the steps? And okay, do we have good hands? You're making life so much harder for yourself and discussing things that may or may not come up in the 1 session of bridge you're going to play, okay? And if you're going to have a good time, you need to be relaxed. I find it very stressful, especially if you meet someone at a partnership desk and you have 5 minutes to discuss what you're playing. It's super stressful for me when we keep adding things to the card. I'm showing you this simple card because I like how empty it is. Look at how there's nothing here. There's just nothing going on, okay? Let's take a look at a fuller convention card for a second. We're gonna go back here. And this is our full PDF convention card. By the way, again, you can just find this online where I showed you, just Google ACBL convention card and it's the first thing that comes up, okay? So this is nice. You can print it out. You can save it, all of those things. And again, you want to fill out the sections as you go along, but you don't want to spend a lot of time. Let's see, if I were to rank how much time we spent, right? We have 5 minutes to fill out a card. The game is going to start in 5 minutes. I want to make sure that we know our general approach and whether 2/1 is always game forcing or not. By the way, if you play standard, which I recommend learning 2/1, it's a great system. It's very easy to learn. But if you do play standard, discuss what bids are forcing. It's really important. Okay. In fact, I would skip a lot of this and just discuss that if you're playing standard. But if you play 2/1, you don't have to have that discussion, which is one of the nice things about 2/1, because you'll know one heart past two clubs, we're going to game, and then you're not stressed. My big philosophy is that we should try to be as stress-free as possible so we can focus on the cards. Okay, so I would spend, 30 seconds here, depending on what my philosophy was. Very light, I would discuss. Make sure that you know whether your partner opens light in first seat, second seat. Again, that was what I talked about before we even filled out a convention card. We should already know the answer to that of, oh, my partner opens very light. Okay? One no trump, I would spend some time here. I like opening no trump. I think it's an easy place for us to have good auctions. So I would try to make sure that we know what's happening here, because this question in particular, 5-card major common, I highly recommend you check that box. I love opening one no trump with any 5-3-3-2 hand. Okay, 5 cards in spades, 3-3-2. Any way, shape, or form, I would open one no trump if I have 14 to 16 points. Okay, don't go crazy. Like I said, major openings. Discuss whether you play Jacoby 2 no trump. Discuss whether you play splinters. Really important to discuss whether one no trump is forcing or semi-forcing, because you want to be able to pass if you can. Again, the other areas that are important, discuss your doubles. Doubles are really one of the areas where I care a lot. I like to play negative doubles for forever. Okay. But again, you can discuss your agreements on these things, but I think that knowing what your doubles are is important. Okay, knowing whether you play support doubles or when a double is card showing. If your partner doubles a lot or your partner doesn't really do takeout doubles, okay, that's an important thing to know. Does your partner know negative doubles? Important things to discuss. Discuss what type of Blackwood you're playing. Really, if you forced me to close my eyes and just have 30 seconds, I would say, all right, we're playing 2/1 and we're playing 1430 keycard Blackwood, and we're playing Stamen and Transfers. And if you did that, you could be fine. You would just assume that everything is not a convention. Okay, but my concern with assuming things are not conventions is that everyone has a different idea of what is normal to play. In other words, just because you think it's normal to play 1 club, 3 clubs is invitational, doesn't mean that your partner, whose teacher thought inverted minors is one of the first conventions they should learn, thinks that 1 club, 3 clubs is weak. Okay, make sure that you're discussing these things of simple bridge. What do your raises mean? What's your style? Okay, don't get lost in this. Because like I said, the reason I showed you the simple convention card is because there's a lot of areas here to get lost. Don't get lost. It's okay if you don't have everything filled out. All right, if you don't decide on a convention to play against no trump, that's fine. Don't worry about it. But you should fill out simple overcalls, what your overcalls look like, all right, and what is forcing and what's not forcing. I like to know that. It's a very hard question for a lot of people. What does it mean when it goes a diamond, 1 heart overcall, pass, 1 spade? A lot of people don't know the answer to that. My standard used to be to play it's non-forcing and constructive. You can play whatever you want. I like to play that it's virtually forcing. In other words, unless your partner is really embarrassed by 1 heart, it should be forcing. Okay, and even if your partner is really embarrassed by 1 heart, it should still almost be forcing. What about Michael's cubids and things like that? You can get by without discussing it. If you don't get to it, that's fine. It's nice to have agreements. But again, the idea is the simpler you are the first time, the easier it is to add things. Okay, it's much harder to take things away because you don't remember that you agreed to play what unusual over unusual. So whatever convention, because it doesn't come up. Okay, so when it doesn't come up the first time you play, the next time you play, it happens to be on your convention card, but you've forgotten. It's much better if you add things to your convention card rather than trying to put everything on at once and taking it away. Okay, so make sure that when you discuss with partner, we should have discussed our opening leads, our carding. Okay, those things are important to get to. And if we're running out of time, I'll skip over any of this section. I'll skip over what we play here. Do we play Lebensall? Or don't worry about those things, right? Convention named. When things are named, usually they become less important. In other words, once it's a convention, I don't want to spend too much time thinking about it because it probably is less likely to come up. If you can describe it without it being named, if you say transfers, for example, even though they are technically Jacobi transfers, if you say transfers, that's okay. Stamen is a named convention, you're right. So I take it back. I apologize to the Stamen family for bad-mouthing Stamen. You should discuss Stamen. But here, for the most part, avoid spending too long going deep into any particular topic. Try to keep your first time playing together very light, have fun, relax, and if you know that you're not playing a lot of conventions, you won't be worried about forgetting something. You won't be worried about forgetting that you play, again, I'm going to name things, Kokish or step responses or whatever. You don't have to have all of that gadgetry. Make sure that you discuss style. Make sure you know what it's going to be like to play with that person. So know that your partner is going to not signal, or your partner is going to give count always, or your partner is always going to give attitude, even if it's a suit that the opponents have led. Okay? Those are things that aren't standard, but you should know about what your partner does. The last really important bit of discussion that you should have, especially if you're going to consider playing with someone long term, is how they like to discuss bridge. Because a lot of people are here and they want to play and have a good time, but they don't really want to spend a lot of time going over the hands. And they don't want to talk about whether they could have made 3 spades or they should have been in 4 hearts, or whether there was a lead to beat the last contract. They don't like to post-mortem the game. And that's fine, but you should be aware if you're playing with a partner who's like that, that they don't want you to tell them, oh, I can't believe I forgot to lead the Jack of Diamonds and I should have done that. Your partner doesn't care and doesn't want to hear it. Some partners do care. They want to discuss how they can get better and put in work. If you're going to be in a long-term partnership, you should have the same point of view in that regard. In other words, you don't want to be a partner who's, you both have 50 master points and you both learned around at the same time, but you spend every day reading bridge books and looking at things online and trying to improve your game. And your partner just plays once or twice a week and is happy to just see her friends, or, maybe there's a cute girl or boy at the bridge club, whatever. That's fine. Your partner is certainly entitled to enjoy the game however they want, but you're not going to have a good partnership if you have really different goals going in. Make sure you discuss when you like to go over the hands. Some people like to discuss it right after the round if they can, right? If there's time to discuss what happened that round. Some people really don't want to talk about them until after the game. That's fine too, but you should express that to your partner so that your partner isn't pestering you every round. And then you'll sit down together, my preference is with a margarita, and go over the hands, okay? That's a great way of doing it. They're all very fine. You just have to be on the same page. So make sure you have, lastly, and most important, more important than discussing what system you play, more important than discussing your style and your carding, is discuss how you want to play, how you want to enjoy yourselves. Because you'll play better if you're not annoyed at your partner for discussing all of the hands. Or You'll play better if you and your partner get to discuss and you get the enjoyment, because some people love doing that. I love discussing bridge hands in between rounds. That's great. If you like doing that and your partner likes doing that, that's wonderful. And you can absolutely do that as long as you are on time. But making sure that you're not doing some discussing hands and your partner is over it. Your partner likes to play and move on. Okay, that's a very valid viewpoint too, and is certainly something that you should know going in. Okay, so be a good partner. Never blame partner for anything. How could you do that? We're never going to do that, right? I'm mentioning it because I almost didn't, but I know that you would never say that to your partner. You could say, after it's over, hey partner, how could I have made it easier to find this play? That's a very politically correct way of saying, how could you be so stupid? Okay, we all make mistakes. Bridge is a game of partnership in a way that is supportive. If you are not supporting your partner, they're not going to support you. All right. So please make sure that you are being good, considerate partners, that you have the same idea of when to discuss hands and how much to discuss hands so you're not bothering each other. And have a good time. Thank you for watching, and I hope you continue to have great partnerships.